So now we're going to do a little setup and show you how to play Techlandia, my game about technology, smartphones, and supernatural evil, and Twitter. The first thing we're going to do is take our map tiles, there are 12 of them in all, and create a little map. We need the welcome center, that's one of them. We need the security room. We need the press room, we need the elevator, and there's the press room. So you arrange these in a column, and then you take the other tiles that you have and you shuffle them. And then you place 4 of them randomly in the 1, 2, 3, and 4 spots. That's 1, that is 2, that is 3, and this one is 4. So we have 2 blue rooms that we've added and 2 red rooms. Red rooms can be a little bit more dangerous. I'm going to take my location deck now, which has a card to match every one of the tiles, and pick out the rooms that we have here. We have the gift shop, we have the company museum, we have the server room, we have the welcome center, we have security, obviously. We don't have the open bar, we have the conference room, and we have the press room. So this is going to be our location deck for this game, and I'm going to give that a quick shuffle. I've also got a gear deck, and I'm going to give that a quick shuffle. And I'm going to do the same thing with my encounter deck. I have got my enemy cards, and they represent the various enemies that you face. I've got my player dashboard, which is, of course, in the shape of a smartphone. I'm going to do the solo version of this, so I'm just going to use one of these, but there are 4 above that. I'm going to put the doomsday clock. Actually, on the card, it says definitely not a doomsday clock, just so you don't get overly worried. And that clock is controlled in part by these lore cards and have instructions for what happens when you hit certain points in the game. I'm going to start off the doomsday clock by taking one of our little markers and putting it right on spot number 20. And I've also got my QR code cards, and these are actually working QR codes. Other things that are important are these QR tokens. And of course we have our miniatures. We have our 4 heroic characters, our tech bloggers. And then we have our stock bad guys. And I have their boss, the executive monster. You're going to start off with your dashboard, and you have to choose one of the 3 skills at the bottom: spyware, disinformation, or memes. And I'm going to, just for fun, choose memes, and that will come into play when we have some combat later. Then I'm going to pick my character, my heroic tech blogger, and he's going to start off right here in the welcome center. The first thing we're going to do is roll our die, and that will tell us how many gear cards we get. Well, I got a 4. That means I get 3 of these gear cards. You can get 5 cards, 3 cards, or just 1 card if you're not very lucky, and these are very powerful. I got cheap sunglasses. I got a fact checker on call, very important if you're in the blogging and news business. And I've also got a hip flask. We are just about ready to get started, and I am going to kick it off by reading the first lore card because my marker is on number 20 on the doomsday clock. It says, ride, share, or die. Your Uber pulls up to the glass front doors of the largest building on the Techlandia campus, where a smattering of abandoned electric scooters litter the walkway. Reporters, bloggers, and YouTubers mill around in the welcome center. Lacking an invite to this event, you slip in unnoticed, determined to expose the truth behind the TX1. That's right, there's a big event going on today at the Techlandia campus. We very strongly suspect Charles Ward, the CEO and founder of the company, is up to no good and maybe using the power of his smartphones, which could end up in millions of hands, to unleash demonic forces on the earth. So I'm playing this as a solo game. If you have multiple players, they all get their own character and their own dashboard, and they work both cooperatively and competitively. So I'm going to start with my 2 actions. I am going to take an action, and one action is moving a spot. There we go. I'm going to move right here to the company museum, and another action will be investigating. In order to investigate the company museum, I'm going to roll a die. If it's even, I have successfully investigated that room. If it's odd, I have failed, and there are consequences. During the course of the game, I have to investigate rooms 1, 2, 3, and 4. I also have to collect 4 QR codes, and I can pick up decryption codes, which will help me later on by defeating enemies. And of course, I have to keep an eye on my objectivity, like all journalists should. And if I take too many hits to that, that's not going to be good either. Oh, I got a 6, look at that. So that means I have successfully investigated this room. I'm gonna put a 1 on room 1, because rooms 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I am going to take my location deck, which I previously shuffled, and I'm gonna flip over the top 2 cards, and that'll tell us 2 very important things. Card number 1, card number 2, security and the conference room. The security card says, passing through the scanners is the only way through secure areas. Always under the watchful eye of armed guards, it's probably not a good idea to linger here. The conference room says, behind the frosted glass walls, dark shapes move back and forth under the evil spell of PowerPoint. You can't see much, but you might be able to overhear something important. The first room, security, is where our QR token goes, and I'm gonna put that right here. We have to go pick that up. The second room is where one of our tech cultists spawns, and if we end up fighting him, then we'll have to draw an enemy card and figure out who he is. I'm gonna take these location cards and put them back on the bottom of the deck. That is the 2 actions in my turn. If there were other players, they would take turns now. I am going to instead say this is the end of the round, and I'm gonna move the doomsday clock forward 1 number to 19. So now I'm gonna take an additional 2 actions. My first action is I'm gonna move over here to the security room, and I'm gonna pick up this QR token, and that's my second action. Very good of me to get this, because now I can take a marker and put it on one of the QR code spots on my dashboard. So now I've investigated 1 room, collected 1 code. That is, again, 2 actions. So I'm gonna move the doomsday clock forward again. It seems like you have a lot of time now, but you really get down to the nitty gritty down here when you get 5 and under, and bad things start to happen. I'm gonna take another turn. I am going to come over here to the server room, and that's 1 action. For my second action, I'm going to investigate it. Oh, I got a 4. Phew. Getting a little worried there, because if I didn't get it, I would have to pull an encounter card. So let's check out our 2 locations, the press room and the welcome center. The press room, unlike most press rooms, this one is relatively clean, well-equipped, and isn't littered with empty Dr. Pepper cans. That should be suspicious by itself. I'm gonna put my QR token here. Sunlight pours into the largest building on the Techlandia campus. Marble floors shimmer in the glare, hinting at a pattern hidden beneath the surface. So we are going to spawn another enemy here, and as you can see, the board is already starting to get a little crowded. If you had 2 or 3 or 4 players, it would be even more so. I now am going to move my doomsday clock forward again, and I have some options here. I can go up to the press room and get this QR code, or I can come down here and investigate this room, because I've already investigated rooms 1 and room 3, and I can fight this guy and try to do my investigation there. I'm gonna jump ahead and do some combat. So I'm gonna move 1 space into here, and now I'm forced to fight this enemy because I'm in the room with him. So I am gonna pull an enemy card. We got the ex-journalist, and his card says, once a colleague, now barely recognizable in a regulation fleece vest and Allbirds as he stares you down with barely disguised disdain. His skill is disinformation, and he has a combat rating of 4. I have to roll a 4 or better. If I can match his skill, if I also had the disinformation skill, I would get a free reroll. I have memes, however. As cool as that is, that doesn't help me here. I do, however, have some gear cards that might help. I have a reroll 1 for any reason with my hip flask. I can move an enemy out of the room with my cheap sunglasses, and my fact checker will take away a reality distortion hit from my objectivity meter. I obviously don't need that yet. I'm gonna roll this die. Oh, and I got a 3. That's not gonna do me any good. I could, however, use my hip flask card and re-roll for any reason. So I'm gonna toss this card, and then I get 1 more roll of the die, and I am gonna do that. Oh, I got a 6. Okay, so that means I have defeated this particular enemy. I'm gonna put his enemy card back on the bottom of the deck, remove him from the board, and because I fought him and won, I get his decryption code, which he carries on him at all times. Lets me try more QR codes at the security desk. So that was my 2 actions. I'm gonna move down to number 16 here on the doomsday clock, and I'm gonna keep going because this is another room that I need to investigate. I'm gonna take my die, I'm gonna roll it. I got a 5, that's an odd number. Well, that's not good. That means that I have to take an encounter card, and because it's a red room, I'm also going to give up one of my gear cards as an extra penalty, and I will take an encounter card, and let's see what happens here. An influencer chats you up. Fake a sudden coma, play dead. Lose 1 turn while you wait for him or her to move on. If you've ever been chatted up by an influencer, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. Because I can't lose a turn in a single player game, the game automatically fast forwards one spot to Doomsday Clock number 15, which is functionally the same as losing a turn if other people were playing. Now, we've hit another card here. It says, read this card when the Doomsday Clock is set to 15, and that's where we are. This one reads, the darkening sky. The glass windows facing out onto the Techlandia campus darken as an unearthly wind howls past. It's funny, you don't recall Alexa saying anything about bad weather today. Looking outside, clouds swirl in a tight spiral overhead as a murder of crows circles just below. That's probably not a good sign. And it says every player draws one encounter card. I'm going to take another encounter card, and this one is, don't you know who I am? A phrase everyone knows well. Bold strategy, let's see if it pays off. So you're trying the don't you know who I am move. So I roll one die. For a success, I get a bonus action. For a failure, I advance the Doomsday Clock. So this encounter could be beneficial or negative. So I'm going to roll this die. Success is an even, failure is an odd. I got a 6 again. I'm going to go with that. So my next turn, I get 3 actions, which is pretty handy. The first thing I'm going to do is investigate this room, room number 4. Ooh, I got a 3, and that is not good. So I have to take another encounter card. Blocked by a giant backpack. Some neckbeard with a massive Jansport is blocking the way. Head back to the Welcome Center to find another route. So I have to immediately go back here to the Welcome Center. That was one action, moving because the card does not cost me an action because I'm being ordered to do that. But now I've got another enemy in my space, so I have to spend an action fighting him. Let's pull another enemy card, and this is the Old Timer. His unlined face shows no evidence of advanced years. You joke that he must have an aging portrait in an attic somewhere. He smiles politely, but you notice an unconscious twitch in his left eye. And his skill is spyware. He also has a combat rating of 4. I do not have spyware, I have memes, which has not proven to be terribly helpful so far, so I don't get my free reroll. So I am going to roll the die. Oh, I got a 5, okay. I just beat him. Now I have 1 action left because I have my bonus action from before. I'm going to use it to move up this way. I'm going to come up here and try to get this QR code. But that's the end of my turn. I'm going to move the Doomsday Clock forward again. And now that it's my next turn, I'm going to move up 1 spot. That's 1 action. I'm going to pick up this code. That's 2 actions. And now I have a second QR code. So far, I have 2 QR codes out of the 4 I need. I've investigated 2 rooms out of 4, but I'm already at number 14 out of 20 on the Doomsday Clock, and these numbers start flying by really fast. We fast forwarded a little bit towards the end of the game, the end of the solo version of the game at least. We've got the 4 QR codes we need. We've investigated the 4 rooms. We've even picked up some very useful decryption codes. So now I have to get to the security center before the clock runs down to 0 and try to scan my QR code, and hopefully it's the right code. Unfortunately, in the way right now is an executive monster that has spawned right here. He's very powerful. I am going to have to just jump right in and fight him. I'm going to move into his space. That's 1 action, and then I'm going to roll against him. He has a combat rating of 5, and none of my skills are going to help with him. So I just have to hope I get lucky. And I got a 1. That's certainly not lucky. I'm going to bounce myself back here and take another objectivity hit from the reality distortion field. That's a shame. Uh-oh, the clock is now moving down towards 1. The snoozer awakens. It's your last shot at getting past security before the Techlandia TX1 phone is unleashed. In millions of hands, the combined energy of all those phones sending coded signals across the globe may be enough to open a portal to another realm of existence. Or Newark. Both are bad. The executive monster moves 1 space towards the security checkpoint. He's already there, actually. I've got 1 turn left. I'm going to move over here and try to roll 1 more time and defeat him. There we go. I got a 6. I'm going to move the executive monster off the board, and I have 1 move left. I have 1 action left in this round, and look at this. I've got my QR code cards, so I have to shuffle these and pick one at random, and I am going to take this card and present it to the security station. You have to actually take a phone at this point and scan this this code, and that will take you to a website that will tell you whether or not the code is accepted. If it is, great, you have won this part of the game. If it is not, they're going to basically take you in the back and suck your brains out unless you have a decryption code. You can spend one of these and try again. And that's why it's important to fight enemies and get those. I'm going to leave this as a little bit of suspense here, whether or not this was the right code. When you try the game, you can scan the code yourself and find out what happens when you try to sneak into the most highly guarded technology company headquarters on Earth. Thanks for watching me play just a little bit of Techlandia.